Oh, wait a minute. Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidates Night for the 16th New York State Assembly. We will begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. I'm Nancy Rosenthal, and I will be the moderator for the candidate forum. The timekeeper is Judy Jacobson. Thank you also to the candidates in the race for the New York State Assembly District 16. Gina, Silletti, and Ragini Srivastava for participating in this forum. We applaud you, our viewers, for taking the time to learn about these candidates. Before we begin, a few words about voting. In New York State, there are 3 ways to vote.
Here we go.
Yeah, and the candidates aren't shown.
They're not supposed to be.
Via absentee ballot, early voting Saturday, October 24th to Sunday, November 1st at any Nassau early voting site. At any Nassau early voting site. Before we begin, the candidates and have agreed an election day. Information about voting in your races in your district are available on the League's voting website, vote411.org. I would like to remind the candidates, their campaigns, and the audience that any unauthorized recording of this forum is prohibited to ensure that the content of the forum is not manipulated in any way to create false or misleading impressions of any candidate. The complete forum will be posted on the Port Washington and the Nassau County League website and YouTube after the event. Both candidates and campaigns have agreed to this policies. Questions being asked tonight have been submitted by the public and reviewed by a league committee in advance to avoid redundancy. The candidates have agreed to the procedures and rules for tonight's forum. The format for tonight is as follows: opening statements of 3 minutes each, questions and answers limited to 1.5 minutes each, and closing statements of 2 minutes each. Judy Jacobson, the timekeeper, will hold up signs when a candidate has 30 seconds and when they must stop speaking. Before going live tonight, a coin was flipped to decide the order for the candidates to respond. The order of answering questions will alternate between the 2 candidates. The order of closing statements will be the same as the order of opening statements. Let's begin with the first opening statement by Ms. Silletti.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. The pandemic has certainly made it tricky for candidates to speak with voters, so if I may say for all of us, thank you. It's also my first time meeting my opponent, Ragini. Hello, very nice to meet you. So when I first decided to run for Assembly when Tony Durso announced his retirement back in February, I was excited to be able to get to work and serve the people of this community that I call home. Then the pandemic hit. and our world turned upside down. That excitement turned to resolve. I'm ready, I'm focused, I'm ready to use my years of government experience to get to work for the people of New York. There will be no on-the-job training, as they say. I know how government works. I know how to deliver results for the people that I serve because I've done it. When I worked for the Nassau County Legislature, our office was able to secure millions for our school districts, for our first responders, for the community. Constituent services was priority number one. I know the constituency groups. When I worked at the town of North Hempstead as the Deputy Commissioner of Community Services, I feel like I literally met everyone, from all those summers at Fun Day Monday to forming the first ever Asian American Festival and Beach Feast. I got to know so many people in the community, and some have become lifelong friends. I eventually became Deputy Chief of Staff at the town of North Hempstead, and that's when I really got to see the inner workings of government on every level. I was the point person on projects big and small for the supervisor. I traveled to DC and Albany, ironically, full circle, to get funds and grants and things done for the people of the town. The next Assemblywoman has big shoes to fill and a lot of work to do. How are we going to bring New York back and rebuild after the COVID crisis and make her better than ever? How do we ensure our schools get the funding that they need and remain some of the best schools in our country, in our state, of course? How can we bring a divided community together, putting our differences aside and finally effect real change? I know the people in government, they know me, I know the community, and I know we'll work together to bring New York back. I will be a tireless and full-time legislator, transparent, accessible, working every day for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava?
Hi, Nancy. Hi, Gina. And I would like to thank League of Women Voters first for giving us this opportunity where we can share our thoughts and our vision with the people of our constituency. I live in Manhasset Hills and I'm a small business owner. I would share just one thing. When I was in India in kind of 8th grade, and my parents were planning the budget for the expense of their children's education. And I was a little girl, and my mom said that, what's your plan? Because like lower middle class people, in India, they used to plan their budget for the children's expense and education expense. So I said, no worry, Mom, I'll go to America. Nobody believed in me. But the point I want to make is that that little girl in that little small village in India with very limited resources, with very limited access to internet, knew that there is a place called United States of America where she can go and realize her unlimited dreams. So I'm so very grateful to this country, and I think that this is the time to give back, not only to the community, but to the country that has given us so much. We have few concerns, and I was working in the community for past many years and volunteering and organize different events, community events and all. What I feel is there is a disconnect between what the people of the constituency actually need and what the elected officials are kind of doing in Albany. So I want to bridge that gap, and I want to be the voice of the community so that in Albany also, they understand the actual concern of the people. I want to, the latest example of how out of touch our elected officials are is the new bail reform, where the judges are kind of powerless to detain dangerous criminals. Dangerous criminals are let loose free on the street, committing another crime, and our crime rate is going up. So first and foremost, I want to repeal the bail reform, and moreover to accompany that there is discovery reform. So of course, I want to repeal the bail reform, And because I'm a small business owner, I have seen the struggle, how businesses struggle during COVID. And after that also, so all there for the businesses that we love, because they are the backbone of our economy. And third is I want to work always with the people to have lower taxes, to help the community, always there for the community. And I'm looking forward to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I can tell from that those opening statements is going to be a lively debate. Now we'll begin this section with questions and answers. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer. Ms. Silletti, you're first. What are the biggest challenges in the district with respect to the COVID-19 pandemic? How would you address them?
Sure. So first of all, I want to just start by saying that listening to the experts, listening to the public health officials and, the Dr. Fauci's of the world, to make sure that New York is on the right track in opening up our business. I get it. It was hard. We are, seeing hopefully the end is near, and we'll get back on track. We had to take those necessary steps to save lives. And looking back, I'm sure all of us would do it all over again. The town was really great in partnership on all different levels of government, and being creative to try to keep the businesses going throughout the pandemic. And one of the things that I think that stood out the most to me was Port Outdoors. It became a really great opportunity for not only the community to come together, but for businesses to open up, get people outside, not only restaurants, and it was a collaboration of all different levels of government. And it's those kind of creative, out of the box thinkings that I think will, get New York moving again.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava?
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. So as I said earlier, also I'm a small business owner, and I have seen how businesses were struggling during the COVID. But I will not just talk about the businesses. I have seen people struggling because of the situation, and it was such a hard time for everyone. So the challenge is not only at financial level. Look at their emotional, mental. We need to take care of all of those things. So of course I'm there. First of all, we need more funding. Definitely COVID relief money I want to be allocated to the businesses so that they can survive. A lot of businesses are closing down. We need to come up with business-friendly policies to help them to survive. Second, people are losing jobs. So if we can attract more businesses to create more jobs, that is another thing. What another thing is, look at the mental stress, what people are dealing with. So of course we have to accept high time. Mental illness is also a problem, and it's an issue. It's real. We have to come up with more plans how to help people to deal with the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, you get the next question. What strengths and weaknesses did you identify in the New York State health system during the COVID-19 surge in the spring? What, if any, changes are necessary?
So New York, I would say there are so many unknowns. There are so many unknowns, so many unanswered questions. The biggest is how much cost it's going to be on the taxpayers' money. So I would, like to know that in detail before going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti?
Sure. I mean, one of the things that the pandemic revealed was that health insurance tied to jobs may not be the right answer. People were losing their employment and at the same time losing health insurance in the middle of a pandemic. If we're talking about healthcare, I would love to see something happen at the federal level, and maybe we'll see something next year. We shouldn't be taking dollars away from our healthcare system during a pandemic. We should be increasing it.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, What policies do you support to help New York recover from the economic devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic?
Sure. First and foremost is getting people back to work. That's how New York is going to rebuild. And one of the things that I think is, infrastructure, including renewables. One of the things that was passed recently was the CLCPA, which has some ambitious goals for the environment and getting to our targets in the next 10, 20, 30 years. And that also includes increasing our renewable energy storage. And putting people to work in renewables, in renewable energy, it's a win-win for everybody. Getting people back to work is what's going to save New York.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, please.
Thank you. So first, I think more support for businesses, definitely, because our local businesses are vital for our economy. They are backbone of our economy. And, if we can give tax credits, more funding to the businesses, first of all, to survive, that will help in revenue generation. Second, creating more jobs. So last year, we know that there was a proposal of Amazon headquarters that, if materialized, that would have created approximately 25,000 jobs with decent salary. So we have to again come up with policies to attract more businesses, support local vendors, support local businesses, and help people more funding, definitely, to come out of this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, how would you close the looming New York State budget shortfall? Which programs or funding would you prioritize and which would you cut?
So I don't think that we can cut a lot. I would like to see that this is actually, I would say again, this is high time. We need to run our government with responsibility like a business. And with this huge deficit, and I know there are a lot of, like proposals of tax increase, which is definitely not in favor of our taxpayers. And they're already dealing with so many other issues because of the COVID. So we have to, make sure that we are focused on more revenue generation, because there is no way we can do any cut on essential services, because we need it, definitely, for sure. So my approach would be to focus more on revenue generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, please.
Sure. First and foremost, the federal stimulus is critical. We're going to need it. And it's not a blue state bailout. All 50 states are feeling the effects of the pandemic. We pay billions of dollars more than we get back. And the federal stimulus, it has to come. It's critical. What's going to happen if we don't get that? Sure. We do have to look at revenue generating measures. I am in favor of taxing the super ultra wealthy among us, pied-à-terre tax. There's also some, obscure bills that are out there that are very interesting to me. Online sports betting will generate some revenue, but, like my opponent mentioned, it's the services or the funding, that we send down to New York is critical. It funds our schools. It funds our healthcare. It funds our local government, which in turn funds our police. These are things that we can't lose. And so we have to be creative and we have to work with our partners to come up with ways to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, what streams of income would you consider to close the state budget deficit?
Sure. As I mentioned before, the billionaire, the tax on billionaires, I think that is, talk about paying our fair share. I think that's one way to go about it. We can't keep raising revenue on the backs of already overtaxed Long Islanders. It gets to a critical point. And so again, looking at creative measures that will increase revenue on the, most wealthy among us.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava?
So I would say increasing taxes should be the last option, because once you start it, it trickles down kind of to the middle class, and nobody wants that. Heavy tax burden is already on the taxpayers, Long Islanders. And so like, before also we heard that there's this proposal is there, the sports gambling thing that will, of course, again, like I said earlier, also we have to focus on revenue generation. And this is what I would go for.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, what are your views on climate change, and how would you address the effects of flooding, erosion, and sea level rise?
So Nancy, this is high time. So we have to accept that climate change is real, and we all have to work hard with the community, with local people, with municipalities, local government, and we all have to step up together to take care of this. I do believe that we do need better water management system, and need more funding to take care of this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti?
Sure. I'm proud to be endorsed by the New York League of Conservation Voters and the Sierra Club. And one of the things that I, said in those interviews, and I always started out with, was I believe that climate change is real, and I will listen to the scientists and the experts. And as I mentioned before, the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, sets ambitious goals for New York for the next 20, 30, and 40 years. With that comes funding. And, we keep talking about funding, but that's how we're going to, get our storm resiliency. We're a North Shore community. We're surrounded by water, and we're so lucky to live in this beautiful community. And that's honestly one of the biggest issues in this district is the waterways and our bays, is keeping them safe and clean and protecting us from the next storm surge.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, what do you see as the biggest threats to Long Island water, and what will you commit to do to build consensus in Albany to reduce those threats?
Sure. One of the biggest things I think that we find locally is in Manhasset, actually, in their septic system. And there was a study done recently, it was pre-COVID, and I think it kind of got drowned out by the pandemic, but our current Assemblyman Tony Durso got a study for $220,000 to look at the feasibility of that community for the businesses on Plandom Road and the local homes to change from septic to sewers. And it's going to cost a lot, and that's where state government can come in, give them some kind of tax incentive, giving more grants to change over. Obviously, this has to be something that the community wants. In addition, for the environmental benefits to our groundwater, of course, the cost factor is not something to be overlooked. And, it's a concern. Our aquifers are sole source of drinking water. And, that's where it comes from on Long Island, and obviously have to do everything we can to protect it.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava?
So Nancy, first I would say we need stricter legislative restrictions, stricter laws. So because we don't want contaminations in the water, like 1,4-dioxane or water carcinogenic, so much of pesticides. So we have to have strict laws to avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, unlike many states, the New York State Assembly has a pretty large salary. If elected, will you be a full-time legislator and not collect a salary, fees, or payment from other employment?
Thanks, Nancy. Definitely. What I believe is this is public service, and whoever is coming for this forward, they have to come with this commitment. This is the reason I believe that why elected officials, they're kind of little out of touch. Because if we come with full commitment and we are fully focused on one thing that we are doing, focusing on our community and focusing on our job that we have committed to, so that will obviously give better result, and this is what I will do.
Thank you, Ms. Silletti.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and I agree with her. This is a full-time position. That's what this seat deserves. That's what it calls for. And again, as you mentioned, it create conflicts of interest, and focused on the job, focused on the constituent services, delivering results. There is no need to seek outside income in this position. It will be a full-time job if I'm elected.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, some residents were opposed to last year's state mandate requiring vaccinations for every child attending school in New York State. Do you support the mandate?
Quick answer is yes, absolutely. We should, again, be listening to public health experts and scientists. It's easy to, get bogged down in the noise and politicians. But at the end of the day, there was an outbreak. And there was an outbreak because children weren't being vaccinated. And we had to do it. They had to do it, to keep our residents safe. And that's honestly what it's all about. So yes, I'm supportive of the mandatory vaccinations.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, please.
Thanks, Nancy. Of course, I would leave this to the healthcare professionals and scientists, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we are not putting other people's life at risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, do you support the New York Health Act? Why or why not?
Again, Nancy, this is what I would say. The New York Health Act, I have to know because understand the cost it's going to be on the taxpayers' money. That is the main concern. So, we have to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, please.
Sure. As I mentioned before, the pandemic has showed us that our health insurance should not be tied to our jobs. I would love to see some kind of universal health care come from the federal level, because honestly, that's where it should be coming from. In regard specifically to the New York Health Act, I've read it, and it's a good first step. It's short. It's only about 25, 26 pages. It seemed like it was putting a lot of the onus on like the health department and the health commissioner without really giving too many specifics. I feel like if we're changing essentially the economy in the state of New York, there should be a few more specifics than 25 pages. But I do understand that it's being revised, it's being looked at. The co-sponsor or one of the sponsors is making some tweaks. And if I'm elected, I would love to work with them, talk with them, and give them my thoughts and suggestions.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, do you support the 2020 bail reform legislation?
Sure, great question. The way it was rolled out, in my opinion, was terrible. First of all, I don't think that legislation, especially this important, or legislation at all, should be tied to the budget. It kind of held the hands of a lot of our elected officials. At the same time, though, our people shouldn't be in jail just because they're poor. And, New York, Nassau County was recently, it was on the cover of Newsday, the safest county in America. Crime, there's not crime running all over the streets. It's kind of, scare tactics, and it's just quite frankly not true. Do I think it could have been done better? Yes. Do I support it? Generally, Again, I think it could have been done better, but people shouldn't be in jail just because they're poor. There's two different criminal justice systems in this country, and people shouldn't be penalized because of the color of their skin or because how many dollars are in their wallet.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, please.
Thank you, Nancy. So absolutely, like I said earlier also, that I will repeal the bail reform because safety of our neighborhood, safety and security is one of the biggest things that we need to take care of. We are families, and we need to see that our families, our seniors, our children, they are in safe neighborhood. Our businesses can also flourish when the neighborhood is safe. So definitely to talk about the bail reform, I do understand it has been introduced with the right intentions, but it has gone too left, and we have all the data, crime rate going up like anything, and judges are kind of powerless. The criminals are let loose on the streets committing another crime. There was one person walking with a young daughter, and he was killed. Now, to accompany that, there is this, one part of bail reform, which is even worse, is discovery reform. A person was killed because they had to disclose the identity of the person who testified against the criminals. So definitely, bail reform, I'll repeal. Thank you.
Ms. Srivastava, how would you address crime in our district? What are your views around community policing and police funding?
Thanks, Nancy. So community policing, I support. That will help, and we all should go for it. And I do not support defunding of police. Making our law enforcement inefficient is not a solution. This is what I believe. And second, you said earlier, the first part was that crime rate. I agree, Nasu, Suffolk, so far, we are in better shape. I will not say that, looking at that, but how far are we from city? The crime rate, 50% murder, approximately murder rate going up, shootings going up. How long will it take if the same policies and the bills and laws we have? So we have to fix it right here so that it doesn't come here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silletti.
Sure. Our POP officers are probably one of the biggest assets that we have in our community. And when I worked at the Nassau County Legislature, we worked hand in hand with our police. And when we held town halls, they were always there. People saw them and they knew them, and they knew that they can count on them. Most people that I talk to, especially in our community, we live in a beautiful community, a safe community. Nobody wants to defund our police. Defunding our police comes with less police. And our police are in our community, and they are members of our family, in my family as well. And, once we start taking those dollars away, it starts taking officers away. And who are the first to go in any business or, in your job? It's the new people. And who are the new people? Women, people of color, the people that you want to see, people like you and me on our police force. I don't think, I'm not sure how it got to this country where, you can believe in, racial justice and racial equality, and you're somehow anti-police. You can be both. You can believe that there should be racial equality, and you can support our men and women in the police force.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti, do you support the recent gun reforms enacted in the past 2 years in New York State? Would you expand or repeal them?
No, I support them 100%. Including the recent red flag law. I mean, these are common sense gun legislation. Nobody's trying to take anyone's guns away. That's a fallacy. We're just trying to keep our children safe. And, any laws or legislation that would keep our communities and our families safe, I am 100% on board. And just on a side personal note, I've gotten the support of Linda Beagle-Schulman, whose hero son, Scott, was killed in Parkland. And, we have talked, and, I support her efforts. I applaud her efforts. And I would love, if elected, to keep moving forward with more common sense gun legislation, which, quite frankly, I think most of our community is in favor of.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Srivastava.
Nancy, I support our Second Amendment, but I do need I think that we need to have strict laws with illegal guns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Srivastava. Our public discourse has become highly partisan and often uncivil. What do you think is the most important for the residents of our district to do to make our public discourse more civil, more productive, and lead to a greater sense of shared community?
Thank you, Nancy. I was, all the time when I'm like meeting people, I'm getting this opportunity to meet a lot of people, I'm talking to them. And, like never before, we are polarized so much. And this is not good. End of the day, we all have to help each other and be there for each other. If one positive thing that COVID taught us is that be there, help each other, be kind and compassionate to other people in the community. So we have to definitely, make bridges, not to burn it. Whatever, we can have different ideologies and policies, whatever, but we can come together, discuss it, and whatever, come up with a solution. But definitely, we do need to come, support each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti.
Thank you. Such an important topic. I mean, I was thinking to myself what I was going to say. I'm like, get off social media. I mean, that, the discourse on there has definitely contributed to it. Also, unfortunately, I hate to say it, a leadership at the top has also contributed to the vitriol and, the discourse that we see every single day. It's something different. Somebody else is getting attacked for whatever reason. It's an important for our next elected official or next assembly person, to be that bridge to bring people together, not to get on a soapbox, but I've worked with people on both sides of the aisle. I've worked with different members of the community. And, I hope that, the years that we've known each other and, the mutual respect, and that's, by the way, where it comes from. It comes from a place of mutual respect. You have to respect, even if you don't agree with it, somebody's different opinion. And so bringing people together, both sides, to effect, again, real change, open dialogue, being honest with one another. That's the only way, we're going to get out of it.
Thank you, Ms. Silletti.
Sure.
Do you believe racism exists in our society and or our government? What role, if any, do you believe the state government can or should play in addressing racism?
Sure. Wow. That's, I think that, for me personally, my views are shaped, and I know it's the same with a lot of people from your family. I have a very diverse and blended family, with my sister-in-law being, she's half Indian, she's half Black, and my nieces and nephews being Black. And it's just, it spans the spectrum. And, and I hear what they're saying, and I hear, the things that they're experiencing. Unfortunately, recently we had an issue in Great Neck where 2 young children were, attacked, for lack of a better word, for not wearing their mask, but it was deeper than that. It was because they were Chinese. And, we're seeing a lot of that in our community, again, because of certain leadership from the top or lack thereof. The rhetoric isn't there. What can we do? Can we legislate it? Can we legislate people being better humans? Asian American Festival. I point to that a lot when I'm speaking with people. It was an opportunity to bring an event to the town of North Hempstead to show people culture and food. And the more they have a better understanding of each other and their neighbors, the more tolerant and beautiful world we have. So those are the kinds of things that I would like to see.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava?
Thanks, Nancy. So hate of any kind is not acceptable, definitely. But, personal experience, I'm a woman of color and I came to this country like 19, 20 years back. And I have never experienced this. So I don't think America is racist. But what we can do, looking at the situation, we have to see that we don't fuel the hatred or that sentiment. Again, we have to build the bridges, try to put the communities together, people together. This is a beautiful word and people make it beautiful. So we have to understand that we all are same, we all are alike, and we all have to work together. And definitely I will do whatever I can do because peace and prosperity is the most important thing for the people. So I will do whatever it takes to bring peace to the community, and so that everybody can enjoy their life peacefully. Thank you.
Ms. Srivastava, do you think that Governor Cuomo's emergency powers are still needed? Should the New York State Assembly have a role in determining the opening or closing of New York businesses, schools, and houses of worship due to COVID-19? If so, what should drive opening, phased opening, and closing of schools and businesses?
Thanks, Nancy. So actually, the safely opening of economy is very, very important. Because like I said earlier also, because our businesses are vital for the community, for the economy. They're the backbone of the economy. People are struggling. We don't want to put everyone in a situation where they are not able to come out of it. So we have to help them. So definitely, if there is a board, they can come up with solution that, okay, we have to open the schools. Of course, safety comes first, and we have to take all the precaution. But definitely we should go for opening our economy and schools and everything. And what you asked about the governor, I mean, we were very, as the person of the community and in the constituency, coming every day about all the, openly discussing and things with the people. That was a good thing. But the executive order regarding nursing homes was a disaster. I mean, that has taken like so many lives, and we could have definitely asked that why this happened and why that thing was not considered before issuing the executive order, that it's going, putting weaker people in that situation where they had to compromise with their life. That was not good.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti?
Yeah, sure. Do I support phased reopening? Yes, absolutely. What should be determining whether, the time frame that we're reopening? The numbers, the data, the science. I think that from the beginning, Governor Cuomo has done a good job with directing the COVID response in New York. We went from the worst, the epicenter of the world's COVID crisis to having one of the lowest rates in the country. States are reopening, and, we're seeing infection rate at 50%, at 40%. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if that happened again in New York? So smart reopening, phased reopening, getting to the point where, the infection rate doesn't go high, the micro-targeting that the governor is doing in those like hotspots that we're seeing in some parts of the city. That's smart governing, looking at the data, listening to the science.
Thank you. Ms. Silletti,
Sure.
What, if anything, would you do to address segregated housing and public schools in our district? What, if any role should the New York State Legislature play in mitigating segregation?
So Newsday did that whole expose recently, which was really eye-opening. Within the real estate market, how certain realtors were steering certain people into certain neighborhoods. And I mean, not for nothing, Long Island, back to its roots in Levittown as America's first suburb, is one of the most, and I lived in the South for a little bit, segregated places in America. What can we do about it? Legislation. And I know the New York State legislature has had some hearings. I believe Senator Gorin has some legislation to address this issue. And I, look forward, hopefully, in January to diving into this, because it's important. We need to, be together and blended and, part of the same communities, and, steering people in certain communities is wrong. It's not right. And quite frankly, a little bit racist.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, please.
Thanks, Nancy. Segregation of any kind, this is not good for the community. We all have to learn how to live together, how to accept more acceptance for each other. And yes, we have to come up with the more supportive legislation, more laws, so to take care of the issue.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava, what are the most urgent issues facing New York State Assembly District 16, and how would you address them?
Thanks, Nancy. Two most important issues. First, look at the huge deficit New York State has, like approximately $14.5 billion deficit. And before COVID also, it was approximately $8 billion. So we have to see why this is happening. Because if again, I said earlier also, because with such a huge deficit and tax, the burden will ultimately come to the taxpayers. So that is a big concern. And we have to make sure that our essential services are not compromised, and we have to focus on revenue generation, cutting our runway expenses, and we have to, come up with solution, definitely. Second is the bail reform. I would again and again say that I will repeal bail reform, because safety of our people is very important. Thank you.
Ms. Silletti?
Sure. So one of the things that is, that I've heard, on the trail is, this district is very concerned about environmental issues. And I hear it a lot. And one of the things, and I believe I mentioned it before, we were talking about, Manhasset, septic to sewer. We're talking about storm resiliency. We're talking about, how we deal with our garbage. I never knew that I would get so excited about learning about garbage than I have on the campaign trail. And, community composting. So environment, that is, one of the things that, we see and people that have been talking to me about. And, the other thing that folks have been talking to me about is, of course, education. What's going to happen next year with the budget? Are we going to be able to fund our schools the way that they should be funded? And, that is one of the, main issues that, people have talked to me about. Obviously, education, taxes, hand in hand.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Silletti, why should people alienated by the state of our politics vote for you?
So people who feel alienated by, the system in general. Well, I mentioned it before. I want to be, transparent. I want to be accessible. I want people to know me. I want them to feel like they have a connection with me. I want them to feel like they're able to reach out to me and, see me on the street and know who I am. They feel they need to not. Politics and politicians shouldn't be a bad word. And for a lot of people it is, because they don't trust government and they don't trust their politicians. If they knew us, if they knew that we were straight with them, if they knew that we were, this is a sophisticated electorate in the 16th Assembly District. It's very well educated. You tell them straight, you tell them the truth, and you listen to them. And, if they feel like they're involved in the process, I hope to have town hall meetings and, bringing people together. If they feel like they're part of the process, they'll be more inclined to support you and trust you, when you have to make those hard decisions.
Thank you.
More.
Ms. Srivastava.
Thanks, Nancy. So, like I said earlier also, this is high time that government is drawn like a business with responsibility. With that sense of responsibility is so important. People are already dealing with, because of the COVID and the situation and stress and all, the least we can do is that they don't need to worry about their next meal. So we have to know how to manage our finances. And I am a successful business entrepreneur, and I can definitely use my experiences to do that and take care of that issue. Prosperity of people is very important, not just because prosperity, it is the basic necessity now. And, I'm coming with a commitment. Why commitment? Because I have always been working in the community for years. And again, like I said earlier also, sense of responsibility. So when you come with that sense of responsibility with a commitment, you know that you are a public servant, you're not a boss. And when you are going to make a decision that is going to affect the life of the people of the constituency, you go back to them and ask them that, hey, this is what we are going to do, and what's your concern? Understand that, so that you don't come up with some kind of the bail reform or all kind of whatever. So this is what I will focus on. I will go to my constituency. I'll be committed to the people of my constituency. I'll be accessible, and I will be able to take
Thank
Thank
you. The first stop sign. Now we will ask for the candidates' closing statements of 2 minutes. Since Ms. Silletti did the first opening statement, she will also present the first closing statement.
Thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate this opportunity from the League. It is so important that voters are able to make an informed decision this election. Speaking of election, early voting starts this Saturday, and I hope everyone takes advantage. This is a new and safe way of voting in New York. We've seen the long lines in other parts of the country, and it's sad, in my opinion, amounts to voter suppression. We should be doing all we can in New York to be making voting easier, not harder. I look forward to using my experience in elections and passing even more election reform, like no excuse absentee voting, automatic voter registration. And as I mentioned before, I am ready to get to work. I have the experience necessary. I know how government works, and I know how to deliver results. I am a Democrat. I believe in democratic values. I believe in fighting for what's right. And I will be a fighter for the people of Long Island, and the 16th Assembly District tirelessly. When I first decided to run, I had this whole plan. I was going to knock on every door. I was going to shake every hand. I wanted to meet every resident. I wanted to, people to be able to go on the street and be like, oh, there's Gina. I know her. She helped me out with this issue. You should call her. She'll help you out too. And, that's the kind of elected official I want to be. I want people to know me, know my face, and hopefully eventually my whole face, not just, this part of my face. And, I want voters to know where I stand on the issues. I will hold town hall meetings, hopefully someday in person, on the important issues affecting our community. And I would be honored if you would cast your vote for me. And by the way, if anybody is interested in continuing this conversation, if you didn't hear, you wanted to learn more, you want to hear more about the issues, reach out to me tonight, tomorrow, whatever. My website, ginafораssembly.com, and you can reach out to me directly there. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Srivastava.
Thanks, Nancy. I definitely thank League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity. I will just say that I came to this country with nothing but a dream and a desire to build a life for myself to be proud of. I always fought for myself. And when I came, I didn't know anyone, but I started volunteering in the community, and my community became kind of my extended family. So I would love to work for them, with them, whatever their concern is, I will always be there for them. And I want people to know that it's very important to go out and vote, and I need this support. And I thank all of you, League of Women Voters, and I thank Gina also. Thank you. And God bless America.
Thank you, candidates, for your considered answers and your closing remarks. Two very fun candidates running here for New York State Assembly District. I'd love to have a party with these two candidates. Please make a plan for voting. As a reminder, you may vote via absentee ballot at any Nassau County early voting poll site from this Saturday, October 24th to Sunday, November 1st, or in person at your assigned polling location on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. The League website, vote411.org, has pertinent voting information. Please check it out. And please vote. Your vote does count. Thank you to the many League members who work so hard to make this virtual forum possible. A special thanks to Judy Esterquist, our technical guru, and Judy Jacobson, our League's esteemed voter service chair. Thank you for actively participating in your community and taking the time to educate yourself about these candidates. Thank you, and stay safe and well. This forum is now ended. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Good night.
You killed it.
Thank you.